Women's Rugby Pod. I'm Johnny alongside Rachael Burford as ever. How are you, Burf? Exciting show ahead today. Exciting week for women's rugby here in England. How are you? You've been a busy lady as well.
Yeah, it has been really busy. Last week was super busy. This week's not as bad, which is quite nice. We had our team club end of season last night, so that was good. It's a little bit croaky, yeah.
I didn't know that. I wondered why we were looking so bleary. Was it a good night / morning?
Yeah, it was a really good night. It was really nice to kind of round up and finish kind of. We've got another one on Saturday, but as a whole club, it was nice to get together because obviously, the semi-final wasn't what we expected. So then we had nothing planned after that, if that makes sense. It was a bit in limbo last week, and so it was nice to get everyone back together. Some of the girls won their awards, and yeah, it was a great feeling.
And mooching around Twickenham at the weekend, I know there was the England women played some sort of team against team stuff, didn't they? But you're mooching around, schmoozing, drinking champagne and eating prawn sandwiches, eh?
I was working very hard, rushed off my feet, box to box. No, I was very well hosted by Cat Gemini, who's one of the innovation sponsors of the Sevens. And yeah, got to watch some of the women play as well, which is great to have a few exhibition games on and new players coming in. I thought it's a good way to be able to see kind of what that talent is on a actual, on a stage where it's not training. It has a very, very different feel to it running out of Twickenham. You're all fully kitted up. So it's a great opportunity for the England staff to see some new blood.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we mentioned it's a pretty big week in England for the culmination of the season. This Friday, Saracens take on Exeter from 3 p.m. at Sixways in Worcester. Live on BT Sport, the BBC iPlayer, and on Premier XVs.com. Still time to get some tickets. That's the best way to support. Simple as that. You much prefer to be at the ground than watching on TV. Tickets to the final are on sale via England Rugby ticketing site, with prices starting from just £6. For those who wanted to introduce a youngster in their lives to rugby for a first time, the Worcester Warriors community team will also be hosting an inner warrior camp aimed at girls who are new to the game on the match day between 12 and 2. Email henry.beach, henry.beach, BECH @warriors.co.uk for more information. That's henry.beach@warriors.co.uk for more information. We're going to get inside both camps during this pod. We're going to get Lotte Clapp, the Saracens captain, onto the pod in just a moment or two. And then we'll go down to the West Country to the Dutch international star Linde Van Der Velden to tell us the secrets behind Exeter's success in the last couple of years and how exactly they're going to beat Saracens. Here we go then. Let's get straight into that Saracens camp, the team that have been there and done it, and the lady who has led them in the past and will co-lead them this weekend again. Here's Lotte Clapp. Good morning, Lotte. How are you doing?
Yeah, good morning. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm in good form. Burf, it's Burf Towers. It's the normal sort of home improvement story. So we probably won't bore you or the listeners with any more of that. But she's smiling away there. Burf, you well?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Good to be on. Good to see you, Lotte.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a couple of years ago we had you guys on, obviously contesting the final. But let's sort of seamlessly link to back to the semi-final, Lotte. What went right for you and Saracens on the day that got you through in the end quite handsomely over Harlequins?
Yeah, I think lots went well that day. I think the preparation that we'd done leading up to it was kind of spot on. We knew what we needed to do. And I think just from the beginning, the warm-up, we felt really energised. Everyone was on it. Like I said, we knew as a team what we needed to do. We knew how strong a side Quins were, and we knew we needed to turn up that day, and we couldn't kind of go in half-hearted. So yeah, that's what we did.
Something Marley said as well. She said, Marley Packer said, in the warm up, she knew.
Yeah.
She knew you're going to win against Queens that day. Can you always tell?
I don't know. You can't always tell, and I think you just have a good feeling about something, or you don't. And I think we left the pitch after the warm up with that good feeling, and I think that little bit of extra confidence that we needed. You can have a bad warm up and still have a good game if you can turn things around. But I think you do go into a game with slightly more confidence as a team and slightly more, like I said, energy and something like a bit about you. So yeah, walking off that pitch, I think everybody felt that, which helped, I think.
You said you got things right against Harlequins. How different a challenge, and therefore where do you need to be on your money this Friday against Exeter?
I think it's going to be obviously a similar mentality of how we need to go about that game. I think as Saracens, we're sometimes quite guilty of not being at our best and kind of our standards slip in at different points in the game. I think an awful lot at the beginning of the game, our standards can slip. And it's not about turning up when we're suddenly under the cosh and when suddenly we need to get those points and we're under that little bit of pressure, and actually being able to do it from the off. And I think we were lucky at the beginning of the game. Quinn's got a fair few penalties, and that's somewhere that we fall down an awful lot as well as a team. And I think at certain points of that game in the first 10 minutes, we could have fallen behind and Quinns could have scored, but we were lucky enough to kind of stop them at certain points in the game and turn it around in that first 10 minutes.
Lotte, I know you're obviously a well-known finalist, so does your preparation change at all this week, or is it very much the same as any other Premier League weekend, or did it change for the semi-final? Like, how does that prep look for you and the team?
Actually, it stayed quite similar this year. I think in years gone before, I think we've had slightly lighter training sessions, but this year I think we've realised that we need to front up and contact an awful lot more than we have done in years gone before. So we've kind of kept those contact elements through it. So Chippy, our forwards coach, he's been really keen to kind of really get us consistently going at the breakdown and consistently working on our tackling, so that doesn't fall behind. Obviously, it's a little bit strange this week because it's on a Friday, so everything kind of flips around and feels a little bit strange. So we were able to actually get in a Sunday session together, which I think was really important. Last night was slightly lighter. We still had that contact element, but again, it's kind of, I think, walking through things, having time to go through things. It's kind of like a bit more of it's a captain's run, but with a little bit more energy to it, so that then when we come into, we've got a team run on Thursday, we know exactly what we're doing, and it's kind of not going to be any questions, and it's going to be we do this here, and here, and then session done.
And where do you see kind of the key areas you've got to get right? Like you look at Exeter and you think, right, if we don't mark this player, if we don't stop this happening, have you got a couple of key areas that you're targeting?
Yeah, I think defence is going to be huge for us. I think making sure that we've got that spacing correct and not getting up off of the line, and making sure that we've got a real straight aligned line, because again, in the past, people have got through. I mean, you got through at the weekend when certain people come up further up of the line and we're not going up together. So we need to make sure that those gaps aren't there in our defence, and I think that's going to be huge because Exeter do have some very strong runners. They've got skillful players, fast runners around the edge as well. So we need to make sure that we don't allow them to have that edge. at the weekend. So a range of things, but I think defence is going to be a big one, so that if we don't have the ball, we get it back as quickly as we can.
How important, Lotte, getting really into the meat and drink of it now, that start, you mentioned that start, we saw directly after your semi-final, you guys, Exeter racing away almost a point a minute in that first 20 minutes against Bristol. How important is that 20 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's important as a team to be able to reset and to have those conversations with each other and realise what we need to change and adapt to what's been kind of thrown at us. So yeah, making sure that we communicate with one another and decide what we're going to do and how we're going to change things. A lot of it is, like I said, deciding whether we're going to go in the breakdown or not. We've got a lot of players who love going in that breakdown, and it's a case of either saying, no, don't you dare go in there because we can't afford to lose any more penalties, or just making sure that it's kind of a few of the players who we know are a lot more confident that definitely coming out with that ball. Yeah, little things like that, little tweaks to the game to try and get the momentum swing back in our favour.
I'm making something like 47 tries in 89 appearances in the Premiership, a couple of titles. Scored one in the final at Ealing, if I remember.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, a few years ago in the inaugural. Remember it well. 11 caps for England, and now due to regulation 8. You're getting involved just with the USA and touch base with them in the autumn, and then you're sort of going off post-Prem final. Just how much are you enjoying your rugby at the moment for club and country?
Yeah, I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. I think another year it's kind of gone up another level. The support that we're getting as a women's rugby player is brilliant and a huge privilege. And being able to also be involved internationally with USA is kind of something that I didn't see come in at all. It was really only December that, like, my friend messaged me and I thought, oh, actually that could be a thing. So it's come around really quickly, but I'm really excited to get on the plane and join the girls in New Zealand, because they're a great bunch of girls, so much fun. And yeah, it's just lovely that I can be enjoying my rugby still at this stage, when the stakes are so high and there's kind of so much going for it, and I'm still enjoying turning up, training at Saracens. I think this year, having a few extra coaches in has really upped the standard as well. So I'm still learning wherever I am, which I think is really important for me to continue to grow as a rugby player, and that's what I feel like I'm definitely doing this year.
But of course, you being you would say that trip and all the rest of it is in the back of the mind, because we've got to get through Friday first. Won a couple of titles already against a team who last time you played, it was a heavy scoreline, and one that in the change room I suspect you don't deal with very often, but B would have hurt somewhat. Just where the concentration levels, the passion to not only win this title but also that horrible word which you'll say, it's just a media word, revenge, but to say to Exeter, no, this is our cup, and we're gonna retake it back. Thanks very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's only been a short period of time, obviously, that Exeter have been in this league, but we've kind of created a little bit of a rivalry. I think that's probably natural, obviously, the rivalry that the men's teams have with one another. But the way that the score lines go, kind of we win one, they win one, we win one, they win one, is kind of the way that it's been for the past few years. So yeah, that natural rivalry and that natural kind of competition is just there. And so when it comes to a big game like this and a big final, obviously we want to win it for a load of different reasons. They want to win it for a load of reasons. It's special to anyone to be able to get it. So yes, lots up for grabs on Friday.
And there we go. We'll end there on that perfect soundbite. Lotte, you must have been doing this quite a while with brilliant soundbite answers like that. Lotte, thank you so much. Enjoy packing, and we'll hugely enjoy watching on Friday. Go well, and let rugby be the winner.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Good luck, Lotte.
Thanks, Burf.
Cheers.
Burf, great to have Lotte on. Personally, in a really good place, as she was saying there, but. I mean, you're the last team to have played them, and the rivalry that she was talking against Exeter there can be mirrored to the rivalry that you have with Harlequins. Just why are they so successful? Why do they keep reaching final after final after final?
Yeah, well, I think she talked a bit about the mentality that they have. They've got a lot of like match-winning players. You think of Marley Packer, win at all costs, right to the death. Poppy Cleal, May Campbell, players and Lotte, you've got to put Lotte in that. And I'm so pleased for her to get the international honours in USA, because she's such a talented individual and hasn't had the opportunity of England, but they're players that turn up time and time again for their team at critical moments. Marley turning a ball over or scoring a try in the death. Lotte coming in off her wing to shut off a 5v1 on the edge. So I think they've got a mentality of, they don't take no steps back. And that's probably a big ingrained thing within the entire club of Saracens, not just within the women's team. Knowing Alex not too well, but well enough from the sideline, knowing what type of standards he drives and what he deems as acceptable and unacceptable. And knowing how they've had, the times where they've gone in at the half time and they're down and out, but yet managed to win the game in the final moments. Not many teams do that. And I think it comes down to that mentality and those match winning, born kind of winning individuals that are really, that's what gets them over the line the majority of the time. So, I know in the past we've gone, right, we've got to completely take Marley out of this game. You take someone like her out of the game, then it's a different ball game. So I would suspect that Exeter will be having those conversations about how they've got to try and keep those players very quiet. But yeah, I think that's kind of always been what's got them over the edge, that mental ability. And I think having played them when they're on the losing side and having played them when they're on the winning side, you can see it in their psyche. Like you can just see it and you can feel it. And I think that's something that few teams can create as often as they do.
I agree with you that their big match players certainly stood up against you guys. I was commentary Rocky Clark, and we were talking about player of the match, and it was those big players. Holly Aitchison was fantastic. Marley Packer was superb. Eventually went to Poppy Cleal, but they absolutely stood up. Whereas against that final against you guys, you could see they just weren't on their game at all. Are they in the driving seat, kind of mentally? They've been here before, and we've just seen the men's final, haven't we? La Rochelle against Leinster, and both have been there before, and you almost earn your stripes. Is the Premier 15 becoming the same, that you've got to earn your stripes and take it almost each level at a time to be able to do that? Yeah,
I think so. I think naturally you'll have greater experience about being in a final. You know how to close a knockout game out. Having said that, Exeter have been consistent all year. They haven't had dips of performance. They haven't had, even with their cup, the way that they performed in the cup. So they're going to have a hell of a lot of confidence. But Saracens, they will believe that they have the players, the big match winners, as you just spoken about, that can raise that and use all of that experience, managing the game in finals, managing that energy, knowing what to expect, the crowd, the feeling, the atmosphere, knowing what's on the line. They've all experienced that. And Exeter have been in a cup final, yes, and it was an incredible occasion for them at Sandy Park and all the crowd. But it's a different level, this, and the pressure. And when you feel that Saracens pack on you, or the team on you, and they've got the ascendancy, that's a difficult place to be. So I think, yes, you've got to think, Saracens, the way that they delivered in that semi-final, if they can replicate that mentality, the way that they started, the ability to manage the game the way that they did, I suspect they're going to try and do the exact same thing against Exeter.
If Saracens don't get on that front foot, and Exeter are one of the most physical sides out there with Saracens, and it's a simple game that you've got to win the physical battle. If Saracens are stopped, they go toe to toe. Do Saracens have enough, a plan B, C, D, to get them out of that potentially sticky situation?
Yeah, it's we'll see, I guess. Do they have? I think the way that they performed and the way that they managed, they were very well prepared. As Lotte said, she said with the preparations we did was spot on, and I think they had plan A, B, and C. They've had if this happens, we'll try this. If that happens, we'll do that. I think more and more now in teams, you have these leadership groups, these spine groups that come up with these X, Y, and Z, what we're going to do here, there, and there. And I think Saracens, probably for the first time, I think I've seen more of a real cohesive group. And I don't know if that's because this season with Marley Packer coming in as co-captain and leaning on all her stuff from international duty, bringing it into that Saracens fold with a title on her. I'm sure she did that with or without that, but that has a different level to it. So, and obviously Poppy Cleal, you can see she was helping make decisions as she has done. She's obviously been vice captain a number of times for Saracens. So I just think their level of game understanding and game management. And I think, Chippy, the forwards coach who's come in, obviously he played at a very high level, a really tough forward player that's kind of really ingrained a lot of that into their pack as well. So I think, a combination of that, they actually have more tools probably than I've ever seen. We may not have seen them because they've not needed to go to the different A, B, and C. However, I do think they've probably got a greater as a group of how to manage game, how to play a game, how to, make adjustments and adapt as you go along.
Well, Pinch Punch first of the month, it's 1st of June, so we don't know teams yet, but you're not expecting too many changes, I wouldn't have thought.
No, I very much doubt it. Obviously, for the Saracen size, Chopper, Hannah, Casey, she was originally in the starting lineup, but then that changed over. But I can't see them going away from a winning formula. And, they didn't just perform, they were outstanding. So why would you go away from that? Same with Exeter. Susie's been consistent with her selection all the way through the season. Again, I don't see there going to be any changes unless there's been some injuries or niggles. That would be the only thing that I would see that would change selection.
Awesome. There is a look at Saracens, a deep dive into the former champions. Let's get you up to date now with all the news from the last 7 days.
I'm Vicky Fleetwood and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Some domestic news from the West Country of England. Gloucester Rugby have extended its commitment to Gloucester Hartpury Women's RFC with a significant increase in funding to the women's team from the 22-23 season. It's brilliant news for Gloucester Hartpury, who will continue to train at Hartpury College, the campus there, but games will continue to be held at Kingsholm as well. The Gloucester Rugby Board has approved the proposal to increase that club's central funding investment to the women's game, matching an enhanced contribution from Hartpury University as well. Additionally, revenue will also be generated as a result of joint commercial rights to both the men and women team with existing and new partners, including its kit sponsor. They'll be both playing in the same home strip from next season as well. Some alignment, Burf, is good news.
Yeah, it's really good news to see. In England, the culmination of the county season is this weekend at Twickenham. In Division 3, it's Cornwall versus Notts, Lincolnshire versus Derby, Eastern Counties versus Hampshire in Division 2, and the Jill Burns Division 1 final will be between Berkshire and Leicestershire.
Over to France, the Elite One finalists were decided. Stade Toulousain and Blagnac, the most local of rivals, Burf, barely 2 kilometres apart, will fight it out to be champions after Stade Toulousain beat Stade Bordelais comfortably 31-12, and Blagnac, who are away to ASA Rogona, came through winning 8-15. The final is on Saturday, 7 p.m. local time.
And in South Africa, the Premier Division Round 6, Blue Bulls were thumped by Western Province 45-15. Border beat Lions 65-0 and EP Queens squeezed past Boland Dames 26-22. Table stands like this. Border Ladies lead the way by 23, but a game in hand. Then Western Province on 19, Blue Bulls on 16, whilst down at the bottom is the Golden Lions, unable to attain any match points. This week, Border Ladies take the bye while Western Province host EP Queens. The Blue Bulls are on the road at the Golden Lions, and the Boland Dames face off against the Sharks.
And in Spain, some confusion last week around those semi-finals, wasn't it? But it did play out. So Triana beat Cisneros, who had a walkover win against Alcobendas in the previous round. That was a confusion. Slow to update on various websites. While Ampio Orizidi picked El Salvador, who finished top of the table in the regular season, 30 points to 27. Let's get the Exeter Chiefs perspective now, Burf. We're going to have Linde Van Der Velden on in a second or two. Let's just go through Exeter. I mean, quite exceptional, really, the growth in 2 years. Now, I know most clubs are reasonably new, but some took a base, like you guys from Elsa Bulls, that kind of stuff. Really are very, very new to all of this. 36 odd games in. And they've reached the final, and they're very, very good for reaching a final, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think, it's really credit to the program that they have. The majority of those players train and are able to be there full time. So the program and the structure that they have in place allows them to accelerate that learning, development, build those closer relationships. And yeah, I think it's been a real credit to them. Obviously last season they were fighting for the top four, really wanted to, just missed out. And then this year taking it to a whole new level. And for me, it's the consistency that they've played at. I think, a real mark of a good team is to back performances up week after week. They haven't had when they have lost, it's been narrowly. And they've always bounced back. So I think it's huge credit to the whole staff down there, the program that they've put in place. They've obviously recruited really well. They've got some of the best internationals playing in their team, and that's all well and good having loads of stardust across your team, but unless that gels and works together, then it doesn't amount to anything. And I think that's the key, the ingredient there of how they've been able to create those relationships and kind of clear clarity around how players play and what they can bring, and using those strengths really well within their team. And I think that's probably the level and the difference from certainly from last year. Probably a lot of stars just thrown in and not really understanding the direction and each other. But I think, you have to credit them. They've been so consistent this season. They've won some incredibly tight games, played away. They've pushed all of previous top fours. Turned Harlequins over twice, so they're not surprising results anymore.
We keep going on about it, and this week, Sarah Orchard on the BBC puts an article out about this, and we won't ask Linda about it. It's not fair to ask the player, especially in the finals week, I don't think anyway. They're looking to change the amount of English qualifier players in their next cycle. So Exeter doing absolutely nothing wrong in any way, shape or form. Next cycle, they're looking at something like 16 English qualifier players in the 23. And if you don't do that, then there's, they lose out on a certain amount of funding, that kind of stuff, from the next cycle. But you're quite right. You can have all the stars in the world, but actually you've got to knit them together. And it's exactly what they've done this season. Hugely impressed. We spoke last week, didn't we, about then coming back at Bristol and sticking to their guns and sticking to their processes and trusting one another. And actually, again, it's something we've mentioned before, but being all over the world, there hasn't been a huge amount going off to do international duty and what have you. And especially during that COVID time, that was a real plus for them, because actually they were getting to know each other. I know Suyapa did a huge amount of work during that time, just to get to know each other. And you'll know that personal connection when you get on a rugby field and there's really dark times is what makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. And I think, if you've never experienced that, it's a very hard thing to describe. But I've certainly been in those team situations where the closer you are as a group, the ability to overcome adversity is not simpler, but it feels much more achievable, as opposed to when you're very disconnected and you can have all the talent and everything in the world, but yet that cohesion and that tightness doesn't come through. I've been on both sides of that. So, and they've done that this year. And look, whatever the new regulations that come in with the RFU,
That's what I thought.
Sorry, Siri's just started talking. They've set a platform that I'm sure, and they've got foundations in place to whatever those changes look like, how they create that environment won't change.
I did. I like your Siri's voice though. It's sexy, that voice from that chap. This is incredibly tight, isn't it? Exeter, in terms of tries scored, atop of the table. 98 plays 97 in terms of tries scored, them and Saracens. They've got best defence in the league in terms of tries conceded. They were 41, Saracens 46. I mean, we thought the semi-finals were really, really tight to call, especially the one at the StoneX. Again, two hugely physical sides pride themselves on their set piece. Where's it going to crack?
Fitness will play a big part, I think, because of how physical they both are. Which team can continue to be that physical for that amount of time? It's tough to call. Part of me just thinks Exeter just got more in the tank.
Exeter have more in the tank. There you are. And that in itself is a prediction. Look, enough of us talking about Exeter. Let's get to a lady who's been there from the start and been a big part in what they've been doing over the last 2 seasons. It is a very warm welcome to Linde Van Der Velden. Have I said that correctly?
Yes, you've said it correctly.
Yes. Linde, I've admired your play on the field, and it's great to have you on the pod. Thank you so much for giving us some time in this in a historic week, and one of the biggest, I suspect, in your rugby career. Does it feel like that this week? Where are your emotional levels, excitement and trepidation? Where are we on this Wednesday morning?
Definitely very excited, but I must say that this week and also the semi-final, we sort of just treated it like it was a normal game. So really it was on the day, and because it was quite a late kickoff, that I got really nervous, but the whole week we just sort of acted like it was a normal game. And for this week, actually, it's the same. It's more like the comments from people, or that a lot of people want to speak to you and stuff like that. That makes it quite real that it's actually happening. But it's a very big game, and we're so happy to be part of it. And we can't wait for Friday.
I mean, we'll look back at the semi-final, just touch on that before looking ahead to Saracens. But I mean, this is a historic time for you at the club. Is there a sense of that on a day-to-day basis? You win the cup. You're 36 games in as a club side, and you got to a final already with a bunch of people from all over the world. You're just making history every time you go out on the park. Is that spoken about? And therefore is that spoken about? Does that become slightly daunting?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, like you say, it's very special. So it's of course what we wanted, but we didn't know from the start that we would already be in a position like this. But once Steve came in, and we were actually our aim was to make top 4. But during the season, we actually felt like, we can actually shift this goal. We want to be in that final, and it's possible. So we shifted the goal. But yeah, I mean, sorry, can you say the question again? I think I went away from the question.
She says she's all cool and calm on finals week, and she's getting all excited over the chat. No,
sorry.
No, don't be silly. What I was saying was history. It was a long waffly question, as it often is with myself. So apologies for that.
We're blaming him, Linda.
Yeah,
your
always.
answer's great.
Absolutely. I was talking about the history, which I think you kind of spoken about, but when you're doing that virtually time after time that you get on the field, does that then become slightly daunting?
No, to be honest, like I don't think we feel like that. We just feel very excited about it, and I think every week we come up with certain things that we want to work on. So like we're more focused on like we know it's like last week it was knockout rugby, and like obviously the game before was quite close game as well. So we knew like we weren't sure what Bristol was going to bring, but we really focused on what we were going to change and like on which different things they might bring and like how we would treat those threats. So it is, of course, in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, it could be over after today. But I think it's just at the moment itself, it's more exciting, and that you just want to show like all the things we can do and how we can treat those threats. And like having so many people in the stands only makes it that you want to work harder for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And you talk about there that it could have been all over, and it nearly was in the 74th minute where Bristol went over, and you probably thought, a lot of people watching thought that may have been the seal for them to win it. I mean, talk us through that turnover just off the kickoff, and how as a group, you probably had 2 minutes left. What were you guys saying to each other? Or was there nothing that was needed to be said? Was everything so clear? You knew exactly what you were going to do, and it was almost a matter of everybody on the same page. This is our shot. We can take this opportunity.
Yeah. Well, we spoke about it afterwards, because at that time I was already on the bench, but like we spoke about it afterwards, but everybody was on the same page. Like even when we were sitting on the bench, like obviously we were scared, but I did have a feeling like we can still do this. And I feel like we all knew like we're going to kick for touch. We're good at maul. This is our shot. And like the game is not over until like the referee blows his whistle. So we definitely, like not in an arrogant way, but we didn't feel like the game was already slipped. We definitely still had that opportunity. But at the end of the day, you're chasing a game. So you're also, of course, scared of making a wrong decision. But no, I think everybody immediately was on the same page. Like, we're going to score this try and we're going to that final.
And has that been spoken about this week? Because obviously with history, with Saracens, they come very good second half. They can come back from, bad starts. And obviously the way that you guys started that semi-final blew Bristol away. And then they managed to come back in the second half. So has there been some talk about how you manage both halves for this weekend?
Yeah, so like after the game, I think the Monday after or Tuesday after, we had a meeting with analysis and like with our leaders on the field. And we just spoke about like the momentum shifts and like decisions we made in that game and like what we could do differently the next time. And then we spoke about Saracens, but then about their threats and how we're going to play the game and like things that could happen and how we would react to that. But then this week it's mostly like been fully focused on us. And like on Monday, Steve also was saying like that it's important that we manage our emotions and manage like our energy. So he was like, when I drove down to training on a Monday, I felt like I already played the game in my mind. And he was like, I just want to make sure that people put their emotion and focuses and energies like during training, of course, but like for the days that we're off, make sure you really take that time off so that you're fully ready for the game on Friday. So we've actually been more focused on that.
Yeah, Steve Salvin, the one of your forwards coaches, come this year, hasn't he? Has obviously made quite an impression. Talk to us about Susie Appleby, just what a driving force she is, obviously within this Exeter team.
Yeah, Susie is very energetic. I think like what's great about her is that when she comes up or like when she explains what we're gonna do, or even during an analysis, like how we can do different things differently, she can really bring that in an energetic way that you almost immediately want to go on the field and like put it to practice. So like I think that's a great way, and obviously she has amazing knowledge about the game, and her together with Steve have brought us this far. And I think also what's great about Susie is that she's really good at recruiting people. I think the way she recruited players towards Exeter Chiefs has been amazing, because even last year, she put a team together with people that didn't know each other, and like we all really feel like a family now. So I think that's also been a great part as a coach of her to the team.
What about Saracens then? They've been here before. They've got the T-shirt, they've got the mug, all the rest of it. A betting man would say you'd be silly to bet against them, probably because of that. But you're on I think 7 in a row now games that you've won. You should hold no fear in this final, should you?
No, I think like we know how great of a team Saracens is, and they've played the finals before, so like I guess have more of that experience. But I think if we look at our team, we have amazing threats all over the park. So I think it should be a close game, and obviously, hopefully, it goes our way. But I think there's definitely opportunities for us there. So it should be a great final for both teams.
Well, one last one for me, if that's all right. You mentioned the word family there, and it's bandied around a lot in rugby, isn't it? But as you say, Susie's recruitment from players from sort of all corners of the globe, how much of that is driving this forward? Obviously, and you're talking about Steve Selvin there, adding some real detail. You've spoken about Susie, but you as players, the coaches can only do so much. When you're on the park, it's down to you players. How much of that family element, that spirit in coming back against Bristol, that kind of stuff, do you put down this meteoric rise to such a new club?
I think it's very important part, and obviously we have a lot of foreigners, so we have like 10 different cultures within our team, and that also means that a lot of us don't have family here or friends here outside of the club that we go to on the weekend. So really we are together and we hang out a lot together. We're very lucky to have like a lot of accommodation very close to Sandy Park, so everybody lives very close to the stadium as well. So we actually most of the time meet up before training or on the weekend or do stuff after the game. So that really makes us sort of like a second family, because like we don't have the family members here because we are abroad. So I think that also is a big part of that. We really want to work for each other on the field and really want to work hard. And that actually is funny because it has been from the start, because last year, obviously with COVID, we weren't able to go somewhere together. But then like Emily Titosi, the Canadian, she would organize Zoom calls. So sometimes on days off, on Friday mornings, we would have coffee together to actually get to know each other, because like we couldn't really do anything. And we knew how important that part of playing on the field and finding each other on the field was as well. So I think that also is a very important part of Exeter Chiefs and why we are in the final, because we're quite close team. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I'm very, very conscious of your time, and literally a few days away from the final. So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very, very much indeed. Go well. Really appreciate your time this morning, and all the best. And as I said to Lotte Clapp a moment ago, let rugby be the winner.
It's not how they see it, Johnny.
Indeed,
Thanks, Linde.
We've got to be down the middle on this pod, haven't we? So no, go well, and hope it's a great game.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
I'm Kate Zachary, and you are listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Well, there we go. A hugely exciting Friday ahead here in England. Just to remind you, Saracens Exeter Chiefs in the Premier 15s final, 3 o'clock, 6 ways of Worcester, live on BT Sport, BBC iPlayer and Premier15s.com. You've still got a chance to get some tickets. They're on sale via the England Rugby ticketing site, with prices starting at just £6. You're going to go for Exeter. I'm going to go for Saracens. So those are the predictions done and dusted. Just a few shout outs to finish up with then, Burf.
Yeah, we need to give a big up to Finland, who have won their first test in 13 years. Finland beat Switzerland to end third in the European trophy. Despite being beaten by Switzerland in all of their 4 previous meetings, Finland have turned the tables on Switzerland in their final game of the European trophy. A 12 try, so an 80-0 victory in Parvu.
Parvu you. Yeah, I mean, talk about doing it in style. Haven't won a test for 13 years and then win one 80-0. And big up to Estonia, who will field its first ever international women's team this week when its 7 team travels to Belgrade to compete in the Rugby Europe Sevens Conference. Led by a familiar face, Graham Smith, that well-known Sevens coach.
The versatile French forward Kumbert Diallo retires after 11 years, winning 50 caps and 2 Grand Slams in the process. Good luck in your next steps.
Indeed, so. At time of the season, we get a few retirements. Petita Garcia last week. And another retirement, much closer to home for you. Fixture, Burf, capped twice against Italy in 2012 and South Africa in 2013, formerly of Richmond. Then she made the move to Harlequins for the inaugural season, playing 88 times in the quarters, including winning a Premier 15s title. What a player. I think he's doing a Premier 15s team since it started. She would 100% be in the conversation, if not in that 23 for me.
Yeah, I think, you say what a player, but just what a person. She's just such a great individual to have in your team, such a workhorse, the amount of time and effort she's put into at Harlequins, and to see her go, we're gutted. There is no replacement for her, for somebody who, you when you've got a team full of incredible internationals, you need your strong club people that really ground you, are there week in, week out, and she's done that in abundance, and she's been a real leader within our side, and yeah, she's going to be really sorely missed.
Indeed, all the best to you, Fee. That's about it for another week, Burf. A couple of days out from the Premier 15s final. Looking forward to it. Next week we'll have some reaction, obviously, to that final, and look ahead to the summer as well. But a huge thank you to Saracens co-captain Lotte Clapp, to Linde Van Der Velden, to you, Burf, to Tom and to Vicky in the wings doing all the bits and pieces. Thank you to you for listening. Rate and subscribe as ever. And all the best to Saracens and Exeter.
Until next time.